Indonesia's feared army and intelligence operatives.
Yang berebut kuasa, mereka menenteng senjata, mereka menembak rakyat, tapi kemudian bersembunyi di balik enteng kekuasaan.
But last year his voice was silenced by a belly full of arsenic on a Garuda flight.
Did Garuda have something to do with his death?
No. I believe Munir killed by intelligence operation.
Saya shock dong, suami saya diperlakukan seperti itu.
G'day, welcome to Dateline. I'm George Negus. In a week when Indonesia is desperately trying to come to terms with yet another natural disaster, the government in Jakarta is also having to fend off a potentially disastrous man-made one. The investigation into the death of the country's leading human rights activist is rapidly developing into a serious challenge for President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, who last year came to power vowing to clean up his country's tarnished human rights reputation. As tragic as it was, last September's bizarre poisoning of Munir Said Talib actually reads like a grossly overwritten script for one of those international airport potboilers involving, as it does, Indonesian intelligence, the military, politicians and, curiously, Garuda, Indonesia's national airline. Since the story broke, now nearly 7 months ago, Dateline video journalist David O'Shea has been trying to unravel the mystery surrounding Munir's death. Appropriately, as you'll see, David has entitled his report Garuda's Deadly Upgrade.
Garuda Airlines Executive Director Indra Setiawan is clearly a man under intense pressure. Since the arsenic poisoning of a high-profile passenger on one of his airplanes in September, the media just haven't let up. And Garuda's reputation is being well and truly dragged through the mud.
Kan Bapak Garuda ya?
Tolong saya tidak komen. Saya juga dikasih hak lah untuk tidak ngomong dong.
Enggak gini Pak, ini kan masalah besar Pak ya.
Oh iya kita.
His attempts to avoid scrutiny are increasingly irrelevant. Evidence is mounting that employees of Indonesia's national carrier helped organise, or at the very least, are attempting to cover up their involvement in a political assassination. The investigation has rocked Indonesia.
Tapi ada tokoh masyarakat yang terbunuh di pesawat.
Oh iya, kita juga menyesalkan sekali ada kebunuhan.
Ya, keterlibatan Garuda jelas Pak ke mata kita.
Ya, di pers jelas sekali keterlibatan.
Itu persepsi dari Anda ya saya.
In recent weeks, suspicion has focused not only on the airline, but also on Indonesia's feared security and intelligence establishment. The victim from Garuda Flight 974 is returned home. Munir Said Talib was Indonesia's bravest and hardest working human rights campaigner. He led a tireless crusade against state-sponsored thuggery and militarism. His colleagues in human rights circles are feeling the loss terribly.
We all have not recovered from it. You know, the movement, which is completely in disarray now. Because he's the glue, he's the bridge. We have no willingness and no capacity to, you know. So I don't know. It's just, I'm trying not to think about it just because I can't. Because I'm afraid that I might just quit.
Munir began his rise to prominence as a legal aid lawyer in East Java in the early 1990s. He met his wife Suciwati around this time. She was a union leader at the local factory. After leading a strike, she was sacked, and Munir took up her case. For Suciwati, it was love at first sight.
Saya sangat suka dan melihat dia itu wow, mengagumi. Ya, banyak hal yang saya tidak temui di laki-laki lain, saya temui di dia. Ya, terus terang banyak hal yang membuat saya sama dia cocok, banyak hal yang kemudian saya saya mencintai dia.
It was 1996, and Suharto's military dictatorship was still strong and ruthless. From the very beginning, Suciwati says she worried about his safety.
Saya tahu resiko dia ketika ya saya sempat pernah ya kepikir ketika dia di diskusi saya diajak ikut di sana. Saya sampai berpikir di antara para penonton ini ada orang mungkin tentara atau apa bin ya. Saya yang kepikir itu tiba-tiba menembak dia di forum itu karena ini banget kritis banget isi dari diskusi itu.
Itu feeling saja?
Feeling aja waktu itu, dan saya sempat ngomong sama dia. Dia cuma ketawa aja, seperti itulah dia.
Rahlan Nasidik heads one of the human rights groups founded by Munir. He now dedicates all his time to helping solve the murder of his mentor. You must be a brave man, stepping into the shoes of Munir to lead the organisation he formed with his death still fresh in your mind.
My destiny was written by Munir's. What I know was that he's my good friend and he was murdered. He's a world-class human rights defender. He did many noble things for his country. So I don't have any reason at all, I will be very ashamed to face to see my face in the mirror if I say no.
September 6, 2004. Munir says farewell to his family and friends in Jakarta before boarding Garuda Flight 974 to Holland. After postponing his departure several times, Munir was finally heading off to do a master's degree in humanitarian law. His colleagues were sad to see him go, but proud and happy for him at the same time. This home video was taken at a farewell party 3 days before Munir left.
Dan ketika tolong sejak saya berangkat jangan ada yang hubungin saya memberitahu soal persoalan-persoalan yang rumit. Kalau ke Belanda jangan minta saya nganter-nganter ke sana kemari. Saya mau ketemu cuma dengan buku dan perpustakaan. Saya terlalu lama untuk tidak sekolah dan saya tidak pernah punya sejarah sekolah pinter. Saya selalu bodoh di sekolah dan pekerjaan saya berantem mulai TK sampai lulus kuliah. Baru kali ini saya mau sekolah yang agak serius, makanya saya uji 1 tahun ini bisa serius nggak?
After saying his farewells at Jakarta Airport, Munir went to the Garuda check-in counter.
Ketika dia naik Garuda, saya juga tanya sama dia, kenapa naik Garuda? Saya ini bukan sok nasionalisme, tapi saya tahu dengan saya naik Garuda, devisa, uang pajak macam-macam itu masuk ke negara kita, dan itu sangat penting. Itulah Munir.
At the check-in counter, he bumped into a pilot he knew, who offered to get him upgraded to business class. It's difficult to verify any details of the pre-boarding period. 58 of 60 CCTV cameras in the airport were not working at the time, and the 2 that were working were either switched off or the footage has been erased. As Munir boarded, the pilot came through with his promise and generously offered his own seat in business class. He then moved into premium class. Munir would surely have been grateful. After all, it was going to be a long flight.
Some champagne? Orange juice? Sorry.
When offered a welcome drink, Munir opted for the orange juice. For dinner, he chose fried noodles. He then sat back and read the paper, and in just under an hour, he disembarked at Changi Airport in Singapore. He had 45 minutes in transit.
When I joined the plane in Singapore, I saw him. Look very pale. Yes, it was like 11:30, almost midnight.
Mrs. Drupadi was on the same flight to Amsterdam and saw Munir in the waiting room. You noticed he looked pale
Yes.
at the time, not
Yes.
not now thinking back.
He looked pale, but then I said to myself, okay, you know, he was an activist. Maybe he just finished having a meeting just before he left, you know, the activist. So I thought, okay, maybe he was tired. Actually, I was going to approach him at the time, but then he was so busy talking with these two persons, so I didn't dare to, you know, to interrupt them.
Munir probably looked pale because his stomach was just beginning to digest a deadly dose of arsenic. He reboarded the plane alone and went back to his economy class seat. Not long after takeoff, Munir was fighting fits of diarrhea and vomiting. As they flew over Madras, a hostess woke a doctor and asked him to check on the very sick passenger. The doctor gave him medicine for dehydration and 2 injections. But with enough arsenic in his stomach to kill 2 men, Munir's condition rapidly deteriorated. He spent his last waking hours shuffling to and from the bathroom. 3 hours from Amsterdam, over Hungarian airspace, a hostess asked the doctor to check on Munir again. His body was cold and stiff. When they landed, the body was removed, but Mrs. Drupadi had no idea that Munir had died. There was no sign from the stewardesses that there was any problem?
No, I mean, they are very calm, you know. I was amazed, actually. I was like, you know, saying, well, they are very good. I mean, keep it a secret.
Yeah. But it wasn't secret for long. In Jakarta, the news spread like wildfire. Munir's human rights colleagues were sent into a spin.
Kabar bahwa pasti dia ini meninggal benar itu, Bang. Dia wajarnya belum tahu, tapi bahwa dia meninggal benar gitulah.
Daun Tara seneng banget ini kalau begini. Orang-orang baik selalu cepat banget matinya. Lu sono, Mas.
Demokrasi kita ini.
In no time, the news reached the then presidential candidate, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. A former general in the Indonesian military, or TNI, he broke into his campaign speech to announce the death.
Kita kenal Munir. Saya juga bersahabat dengan Munir, kritis terhadap TNI, kritis terhadap kekuasaan, tetapi dia sahabat saya. Dan marilah kita mengheningkan cipta selama 1 menit.
In the hush, many here would have been immediately suspicious about Munir's death. He had many enemies, particularly in military and intelligence circles, whose impunity he'd been challenging for years. General Mukhti, for example, the former deputy intelligence chief under General Hendra Priyono, is known to have hated Munir, who exposed his role in kidnapping and disappearing student activists in 1998. Munir never let up. He organised this demonstration just 2 weeks before he was to leave for Holland. True to form, the fearless activist lashed out at Indonesia's generals, many of whom would have been glad to see him dead.
Mereka berebut kuasa, mereka menenteng senjata, mereka menembak rakyat, tapi kemudian bersembunyi di balik ketek kekuasaan. Apakah kita biarkan orang-orang pengecut itu tetap gagah? Tidak. Saya kira tidak. Mereka gagal untuk gagah. Mereka hanya ada di baju. Tapi dalam tubuh mereka adalah sesuatu pembinaan, sesuatu yang tidak bertanggung jawab, yang mereka akan bayar sampai di manapun, sampai kapanpun.
It was no surprise to anyone when a week after his death, Munir's widow, Suciwati, received this package at her home. It contained a putrefied chicken. Another dead chicken made its way to Munir's human rights worker colleagues. The message inside both packages was identical and read, "Warning, do not blame the TNI for Munir's death, or you will end up like this. For more than 6 months, Suciwati has zipped around Jakarta from meeting to meeting, determined to get to the bottom of her husband's murder. She was responsible for the first real breakthrough in the investigation, pointing not to the military but to Garuda itself. It came when she remembered receiving a strange phone call before her husband's departure. A man calling himself Polly, who said he was from Garuda, wanted to know when Munir was leaving. He would later become a key figure in the murder investigation.
Dia emang merasa seperti sudah kenal lama gitu sama suami saya. Cak Munir berangkat ke Belanda. Nanti kita mau bareng kok kalau misalnya ini. Dia bilang begitu. Oh, Senin. Saya bilang begitu. Hari Senin kan waktu itu saya lupa hari apa dia nelpon. Nah, dia bilang, oh ya udah kalau gitu terima kasih. Nah, setelah dimatikan itu ini feeling aja ya. Saya merasa bahwa saya ngapain saya ngomong pada seseorang yang saya merasa nggak enak aja. Munir, saya bilang sama Munir bahwasanya ada telepon dari Poli Garuda. Dari Poli saya bilang begitu. Poli siapa? Dia nanya gitu. Dari Poli Garuda, akunya gitu. Terus ketika si siapa, Munir bilang, oh orang, dia komentar kemudian, oh orang ini aneh dan so akrab. Gitu. Dan saya justru semakin nggak enak ya. Saya ceritakan sama dia, alah udahlah jangan berpikir aneh-aneh, dia bilang gitu. Ya udah akhirnya kita udah lupakan ya, saya sudah melupakan.
But after Munir's death, she couldn't forget about it and requested a meeting with Garuda. After being put off for weeks, she finally met with the airline's executive director, Indra Setiawan.
Saya bertanya pada Pak Indra ya, ada nggak yang namanya Poli di Garuda? Oh, dia langsung menjawab, oh ya ada itu, namanya Polikarpus. Namanya Polikarpus. Pertama kali yang saya tahu namanya Polikarpus itu dari Bapak Indra itu.
Nah, saya khawatir.
Suciwati had discovered that Polikarpus was a pilot. He flew Airbuses around Indonesia and to Australia. Along with other human rights activists, Suciwati formed the Committee for Solidarity with Munir to conduct their own investigation. They began by examining the last calls made to Munir's mobile phone and found several came from a number belonging to the pilot Polikarpus.
Location-nya itu udah di Jakarta International Airport, JIA.
Oh ini
berarti memastikan.
Iya, memastikan benar berangkat
sampai bandara.
Jadi sebelumnya berapa hari sebelum dia berangkat dia nelpon. Terus pas berangkat dipastikan lagi benar nggak berangkat.
November 12, National Police Headquarters. After more than a month of lobbying, Suciwati is finally allowed to see a copy of the Dutch autopsy conducted into her husband's murder.
Ketika dia memberitahu, meskipun itu sudah saya duga, ya saya shock dong. Suami saya diperlakukan seperti itu.
After reading the autopsy, Suciwati emerged to find the local media waiting for her.
Cuma kita minta keterangan aja.
Ya apa salahnya ngomong dikit, nggak ada salahnya.
Orang tuh lagi shock.
Kita juga tahu. Orang sama aja.
Ini bukan soal belagu, ini soal kemanusiaan. Soal kemanusiaan. Kita shock. Gimana sih?
Kita tahu shock.
An hour later, Suciwati held a press conference. She informed Indonesia that her husband had been poisoned.
Hasil analisis toksikologi yang menemukan adanya kandungan arsenik di atas tingkat kewajaran dan mematikan. Yang pasti jangan tanya perasaan saya. Dan yang penting, lebih penting dari itu, kalau ketika saya tahu suami saya minta diusut sampai tuntas, itu aja.
Over the days that followed, Munir's colleagues met regularly to discuss their investigation. As they delved deeper, they were tipped off about a possible link between Polikarpus and the National Intelligence Agency BIN, whose headquarters are in Kalibata, Jakarta.
Dari informasi yang mereka terima, mereka menerima bahwa Polikarpus ini orang Kalibata. Lalu juga dia sempat mereka sebut juga militer udah lama dan macam-macam lah yang
Polikarpus, pilot Garuda yang selalu bersama Munir dalam penerbangan dari Jakarta menuju Singapura, telah diperiksa polisi sebagai saksi bersama 55 orang lainnya. Ia menawarkan...
In an interview with Indonesian television conducted at the time, the off-duty Garuda pilot, Polikarpus, explained that offering his business class seat to Munir was something he'd do for any of his friends.
Sekarang gini mas, umpamanya udah kenal sama saya nih, katakanlah sekarang ketemu gitu. Terus besok naik bis atau apa gitu, mas senangnya dekat jendela, kebetulan saya di jendela, ya silakan aja kalau mau kan gitu. Kita memberi penghormatan aja, kebetulan saya naik pesawat itu kan gratis. Kalau saya mungkin bayar full fare gitu ya, mungkin ngapain saya kasih orang gitu, kan bisnis kan mahal. Karena saya gratis, saya karyawan, beliau orang terpandang gitu. Apabila berkenan kan begitu, kalau beliau nolak juga nggak apa-apa kan gitu. Gitu, sering ke orang bule juga kita tuker-tukeran begitu.
Dateline has discovered that Polikarpus had previously tried to arrange favours for other human rights activists. Munir's colleague, Yeni Rosa Damayanti, remembers when Polikarpus tried to befriend her.
And he called me from Sydney, from, many other... now I'm in Sydney, and he talked about half an hour from Sydney, and he talked from Japan, I don't know, so many other places. And he said he will provide free tickets and...
Polikarpus called Yeni every day, asking for information on the anti-military campaigns she was organising before the last election.
And one day he said that he would like to meet me and set up a place in Block M. But I had another meeting at the time, so I didn't make it. Thanks God. And
why do you say thanks God?
Yeah, well, I don't know what would happen if I went to that meeting with him and his friends.
Also arousing suspicion among Munir's colleagues, the fact that for a civilian pilot, Polikarpus seemed to have spent an awful lot of time in Indonesian hotspots. Over the years, he's been sighted in West Papua, East Timor and Aceh. On a trip to Aceh 2 years ago, I was filming embedded journalists at the beginning of a massive military operation. As it happens, Polikarpus was staying at our hotel. He told Chitra Prastuti, one of the journalists that I was filming, that he was on holiday there.
There were 3 of us in the same room, me, Berto and Ade from Jakarta Post, and he approached to us and he asked, where are you from? He asked question, just ordinary question of course, but we got suspicion and did not want to answer more because we were afraid that he was a spy or something because it's so weird.
So you were suspicious from the very beginning?
Yes, because he broke his arm, the arm was broken because he was from Garuda, having a holiday there. It's all so weird combination, so we decided not to talk too much to him.
Once Munir's colleagues put these pieces together, they were under no illusion as to the complexity of their task and the dangers they faced.
Seperti itu tuh. Ini kalau kita komunikasi melalui handphone itu yang netral. Ya. Kalau ada yang PK jangan sama sekali. Apalagi SMS. Termasuk SMS. Ya. Kalau dalam urusan menulis jangan. Tidak usah pakai itu. Dalam urusan ini. Kalau kita mau ketemu bolehlah apa. Tapi kalau kita mau ngomongin entah si Polikarpus, entah si ini jangan memakai handphone. Jangan. Ya kita nggak usah naif lah. Ini kita menghadapi penjahat. Ya.
On the 22nd of November, Munir's colleagues took the case to the Parliamentary Commission on Human Rights. they asked them to launch their own investigation.
Pertama-tama saya ingin memperkenalkan dulu gerombolan yang ada di depan ini. Ini akan menjadi ujian atau test case bagi kita, apakah kita mampu untuk menegakkan hukum, menegakkan keadilan, membongkar ya, pembunuhan yang keji dan kejam terhadap saudara kita Munir. Tidak gampang dan tidak mudah, walaupun itu terjadi di atas pesawat Garuda. Kami sudah bertemu dengan pihak Garuda, pihak dirut Garuda, dengan pilot Garuda, pramugari Garuda, dan masih banyak harus dilakukan. Dan
the first real evidence of a conspiracy involving Garuda came from Polikarpus's lawyer, Suhardi Somomuljono. He accused the airline of scapegoating his client.
Ya, jadi dia sekarang ini merasa akan dikorbankan. Bosnya dia kan dirut Garuda, yang menerbangkan dia ke Singapura.
Last month, Suhardi made public 3 extraordinary letters Garuda had written, which supposedly explained why the off-duty pilot was on Flight 974. In fact, the letters only unravelled his client's alibi and pointed the finger of suspicion at Garuda's senior management. The first letter was dated August 11, 3 weeks before Munir's murder, and appointed Polikarpus Budihari Prianto as an aviation security officer. Unusually for such a letter, it was signed by the executive director himself, Indra Setiawan, bypassing 3 levels of management.
So it's a super letter, super letter.
From who to who?
Executive director to a pilot, Yeah. So, as if, this pilot is directly, under his supervision. Yeah. So it's very strange. Yeah.
The second letter was critical. Signed by the Vice President of Corporate Security, it authorized Polikarpus to travel on any flight he wanted in order to carry out his duties as an aviation security officer. This letter was dated 2 days before Munir's departure. Closer inspection revealed that the letter had in fact been written 10 days after Munir's death and then backdated. It seemed clear to Rahlan Nasadik that Garuda had something to hide.
So we asked the police to really check this letter, So the police came to Garuda office and they seized the logbook. And they have found that, the letter was written on 15th of September, signed on 17th of September, but, they
made to look
as if signed on 4th of September or issued on 4th of September,
The third letter authorized Polikarpus to be on Munir's flight to Singapore, the last flight of the day. Ostensibly, he was on assignment from Garuda head office, but he didn't have much time to complete the task. Polikarpus returned to Jakarta on the first flight the next morning. The investigation team believes all 3 letters are highly suspicious.
To cover up, yes, to cover up. But I would say that, not all of members of board directors are involved in this case. Yeah, I dare to say specifically 2 names. I think, the Garuda executive director and the vice president of corporate security. Yeah.
Rahland, along with several of Munir's colleagues, also sits on the official government-appointed fact-finding team, the TPF. At the end of February, it held a closed-door meeting with Garuda directors to ask them about the 3 letters. When the 2-hour meeting ended and a press conference is called, it's clear that things are getting much worse for Garuda's management. The deputy chief of the team is Asmara Nababan.
Kemungkinan pertama adalah manajemen yang buruk dan tidak profesional dari Garuda, sehingga memungkinkan seseorang dibunuh di pesawat. Atau kemungkinan kedua, Garuda menutupi informasi dari satu kejahatan serius.
With Indonesia's national airline now under suspicion, it was clear the fact-finding team was coming up against some very powerful forces. They went to see Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, now president. The head of the team, Marsudi Hanafi of the Indonesian police, asked for the president's backing in the difficult times ahead, and got it.
Dengan campuran yang ada di kita itu kan
Presiden mendukung sepenuhnya untuk pengungkapan kasus ini, dan beliau katakan bahwa semua institusi membuka ruang untuk membantu pengungkapan kasus meninggalnya Munir.
Then the first public acknowledgement that a conspiracy was afoot.
Kepada Bapak Presiden, kami melaporkan bahwa dari 2 kali pertemuan DPR dengan pihak manajemen Garuda, terdapat cukup bukti kuat bahwa peristiwa meninggalnya Munir adalah hasil dari suatu kejahatan konspiratif.
Major General Syamsir Siregar, the new head of Indonesia's intelligence agency, BIN, was in the background watching proceedings. With allegations surfacing that Polikarpus was a BIN agent, he knows that the fact-finding team will eventually turn its attention in his direction. Later that day, the entire crew of Flight 974 were called in to testify in a closed meeting at the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights. It was Polikarpus's first public appearance, but he wasn't saying anything to reporters. Last to arrive was the embattled executive director, Indra Setiawan.
How are you, sir?
Hi, fine, thank you.
Feeling well today?
Yes.
Looking forward to this?
As usual. Okay.
After enduring a marathon 5-hour closed-door meeting, Indra Setiawan faced another hour's grilling by the press. The hot issue was still the backdated letter authorizing Polikarpus to travel to Singapore, which he tried to explain was an innocent mistake.
Ada kesalahan administratif. Tapi kesalahan administratif ini terjadi setelah terjadi kejadian tanggal 6. Setelah terjadi tanggal 6, kejadian tanggal 6. Jadi memang sudah berangkat, jadi ada administrasi kesalahan dibilang kesalahan administrasi karena dianggap.
Off to the side, the man who signed the letter, Vice President of Corporate Security, Ramelgia Anwar, was getting off lightly.
But why did you backdate the letter?
I have answered to the investigator.
I'm asking you, sir.
That's my answer.
No, but but I'm asking you, sir. Why can't you answer me?
Yeah.
This is a serious matter.
You can ask to the investigator. I mean the police.
What was Polikarpus's job in Singapore? What was his tugas in Singapore? No, I'm asking you. You signed the letter.
Yeah.
Why did Polikarpus go to Singapore? You know. So why can't you tell me?
I have answered to the investigator because the investigation is still process.
Who killed Munir?
I don't know.
Well, who do you think?
No comment.
Did Garuda have something to do with his death?
No comment.
Despite having now endured 6 hours of interrogation, I still had my own questions for the executive director, the man who personally appointed Polikarpus as an aviation security officer.
No, but what was his specific purpose to go to Singapore?
Yeah, you asked Mr. Ramel because
I did before, and he told me to ask you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No. Oh, because okay.
It's a good question because he went on the last flight, and he returned on the first flight the next morning.
Yes.
All the offices were closed. When did he have time to do his to carry out his job?
Yeah, no. Because that's why I am not happy according to because he's only several hours.
Yeah.
Just check to some mechanic on Singapore. I'm not happy.
Yeah, but you're not happy. But that's whether you're happy or not is not the question. The question is, was he doing there?
Oh, he's doing check according to his report.
And millions of people fly from Australia to Bali on Garuda every year. I mean, you know, should they be feeling comfortable about drinking orange juice and eating fried noodles on your aeroplanes?
I have no comment.
Not long after his appearance in Parliament, Indra Setiawan was sacked, along with Garuda's entire board of directors. The government said the move was necessary to improve the airline's performance and was unrelated to allegations of Garuda's involvement in Munir's murder. It wasn't until the next day that the parliamentarians got around to questioning Polikarpus.
Polikarpus Budi Hari Prianto. Jadi yang kami kita duduk di sana adalah saudara Polikarpus Budi Hari Prianto. Yang lain kami minta untuk keluar. Teman-teman wartawan juga.
They wanted to hear, among other things, how Polikarpus had first heard about Munir's death. So did I. So along with some other reporters, I sneaked back inside. Incredibly, although Munir's death was a huge news story, Polikarpus said it was 3 days before he heard about it.
Itu di radio, Pak, di Helsinki. Iya, kami waktu itu lagi jalan sama istri. Kok ada yang meninggal di pesawat Garuda gitu, Pak.
Then, without a flinch, he changed his story, saying he first heard the news from a colleague at Garuda.
Namanya siapa? Oh iya, saya baru ingat, Pak. Pada waktu saya ke Cengkareng, ada staf Garuda, pramugari. Aduh, namanya Pak. Tapi saya tahu orangnya, Pak. Itu pramugari itu banyak sekali, Pak. Saya tahu orangnya, Pak.
It wasn't long before the parliamentarians had heard enough. They decided Polikarpus should be detained, not only because he's the prime suspect, but because they were worried about his safety. Only a few days prior, he'd been hit by a minibus.
Nah, itu dia bilang kecelakaan, kalau kita menduga kecelakaan itu bagian dari percobaan pembunuhan.
Siapa mau membunuh dia?
Jadi penahanan itu ya orang yang mungkin aktor di belakangnya ini.
Karena katanya saya takut terancam takut kalau tidak aman, justru malah ditahan polisi. Saya nggak merasa tidak aman.
Tapi kemarin mencoba membunuh Anda ya?
No.
Itu kelihatan.
Yang bilang itu.
3 days after Garuda's executive director was sacked, Polikarpus was finally arrested on charges of facilitating the murder of Munir and forging documents linked to the case. But investigators know that the real villains are yet to be uncovered. Whoever they are, they must have had a motive for killing Munir and the ability to use Indonesia's national airline to achieve their goal.
I believe Munir killed by intelligence operation. I believe Munir was a target of intelligence operation. I believe, I don't have the proof now, but I believe, learning from past experiences, Munir was a target of intelligence operation. Because, there is no other institution who could have very strong and wide access and network. There is no institution who could place someone in a company, in Garuda, to be sure, and in any other departments, except intelligence body. Military cannot do that.
Munir's death has led to suspicion that 2 other high-profile Indonesians may also have been targeted. Muhammad Yamin, a police brigadier general, and Attorney General Baharudin Lopa were both investigating corruption at the highest level. Yamin died last year, several hours after a Garuda flight to Bali. Lopa died in 2001, 8 days after a Garuda flight to Saudi Arabia. Autopsies were never performed. If and when Munir's killers are found, there's bound to be renewed interest in investigating these cases.
So Baharudin Lopa was also a very important person. He was very courageous, to fight corruption. Okay, but suddenly he died.
Sendiri tidak mempekerjakan orang.
Before he was hounded by the press, Indra Setiawan told Dutch reporter Step Vassens that he could do nothing to stop the state intelligence agency BIN from using his airline.
Tapi Bapak pasti tidak setuju kalau orang intelijen bekerja untuk Garuda atau setuju?
Kalau ini kembali lagi kepada pemerintah sebagai pemegang saham, sebagai negara yang mempunyai aset di perusahaan, ya kan? Kalau apakah memerlukan menaruh orang di situ misalnya atau di bank rupa, kami manajemen, kami bukan kami bukan owner.
Last week, the fact-finding team alleged that 2 members of the State Intelligence Agency were behind the conspiracy to kill Munir. Their identities are widely known to journalists, but for legal reasons they've not yet been publicly named. Suciwati and her daughter Diva are flying to Surabaya in East Java to visit Munir's family. It'll be her only opportunity to see them before heading off to Geneva to testify at the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. On this Garuda flight, wherever she looks, she's reminded of her husband's murder. The in-flight magazine features a message from Indra Setiawan, and the front page of the newspaper reads, Polikarpus ordered to kill Munir. Diva is too young to understand why her mum doesn't want her to eat the airline food.
Di sini? Ya, enggak. Dia mau? Enggak. Diva kok mau sih? Diva mau ini? Iya. Oh iya, kan sudah makan Diva tadi. Ya. Kembalikan aja ya. Hah? Jangan. Sini, kembalikan. Ya sudah buat main ya. Buat main aja ya. Sudah dimakan ya.
When she returns from her speaking tour of Europe, Suciwati plans to sue Garuda for not protecting her husband. But that's later. Today is a special occasion, a chance to be close to Munir once more.
Kita mau ke makam Abah. Tempat tidurnya Abah.
Indonesia's president has promised Suciwati that Munir's killers will be found. If this happens, it will be a first for Indonesia, where no case of this kind has ever been solved.
Bebas yang justru ketika dalangnya yang harusnya pemik otaknya itu bisa ditangkap, mereka bisa bebas. Makanya perjuangan ini masih panjang. Dan saya tahu kadang-kadang pada saatnya kita di titik itu, tapi saya nggak boleh berhenti. Jadi sebuah harapan harus ada, tetap ada. Selalu berpikir positif bahwasanya pemerintah sekarang punya etikat baik. Seperti itu.
Unfortunately, the person best qualified to see this through lies buried here.
Kalau nanti udah besar anaknya mau cerita apa mengenai Munir bapaknya?
Saya ceritakan apa adanya. Bahwasanya abahnya adalah seorang laki-laki yang sangat membanggakan, seorang laki-laki yang hebat.
In September last year, Suciwati's husband, Munir Said Talib, was poisoned on a Garuda Airlines flight to Holland. top officials from the airline and the country's National Intelligence Agency are suspected of involvement in his murder.
The flight time to Makassar will be 2 hours at an altitude of 33,000 feet.
In her effort to keep the still unresolved case alive, she's travelled to Europe and the United States to meet government and UN figures. Here in Indonesia, she's traversing the archipelago. The next stop in her tireless campaign is to South Sulawesi.
Kalau kita diam akan lebih banyak lagi korban. Karena di sini saya tidak bicara tentang kematian seorang suami saya saja, tapi ke depan itu berbahaya bagi hak asasi dan demokratisasi di Indonesia. Jadi seorang aktivis yang sudah dikenal baik nasional dan internasional saja bisa dihabisi. Di situ ada pesan bahwa seorang Munir saja bisa saya habisi gitu kan. Apalagi kalian. Jadi
we're on our way to a local cafe that's been hired for a public discussion about the case. The event draws a small crowd of university students, activists and journalists interested in hearing the latest developments. I reported on Munir's murder in March of this year. That story has been copied and burned with Indonesian subtitles and is shown before the discussion begins.
I'm George Davis. In a week when Indonesia is desperately...
Munir was best known for his fearless pursuit of Indonesia's generals, seeking justice for their many victims.
Saya kira tidak, mereka gagal untuk gagah, mereka hanya ada di baju. Tapi dalam tubuh mereka adalah sesuatu kehinaan, sesuatu yang tidak bertanggung jawab, yang mereka akan bayar sampai di manapun, sampai kapanpun.
But it was Munir who paid. He'd lost count of the number of death threats he'd received over the years. But it wasn't until he left Indonesia to study in Holland that the plotters made their move. On the Jakarta to Singapore leg of his journey, a deadly dose of arsenic was added to his welcome drink. He was dead on arrival in Amsterdam. When a Dutch autopsy revealed that Munir had been poisoned, President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono set up a fact-finding team to investigate the murder. A Garuda pilot, Polikarpus Budihari Prianto, was the early focus of the investigation. Polikarpus had offered Munir his own seat, 3K, in business class, allegedly setting him up for the kill. He'd also called Munir several times before his departure. Investigators soon discovered that Polikarpus was connected to the National Intelligence Agency. Over the following weeks, the fact-finding team concluded that there had been a wide-ranging conspiracy involving, among others, the senior management of the national carrier. The then executive director of Garuda, Indra Setiawan, had authorized Polikarpus to be on the flight with Munir.
But what was his specific purpose to go to Singapore?
Yeah, you asked Mr. Rabel because...
I did before, and he told me to ask you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No.
Since my story was broadcast, dramatic new details have emerged. First, the fact-finding team uncovered documents which showed a meeting had taken place at the National Intelligence Agency, BIN, to discuss possible scenarios for killing Munir. According to the team's leader, 4 methods were considered: arranging a car accident, adding poison to food at his office, using black magic, or poisoning him on board a Garuda flight.
Dan untuk mengetahui lebih jauh mengenai dokumen ini, di studio telah bergabung bersama kami anggota TPF Bung Hendardi. Bung Hendardi, selamat malam, selamat bergabung dalam Metro hari ini. Ada 4 skenario pembunuhan Munir, apakah ini valid?
Ya, selamat malam,
Then it was revealed that the chief suspect, Polikarpus, had called a silent number at BIN 35 times before and just after the murder. The number turned out to belong to former Army Special Forces Chief, Mukti Purwo Pranjono, BIN Deputy Director at the time. For his part, he denies ever receiving the calls or playing any part in the plot. The TPF even found out where the arsenic had been purchased. a chemical shop in downtown Jakarta. On the 24th of June, as its 6-month mandate ended, the fact-finding team delivered its report to the President. Reporters wanted to know how long the President would need before taking action. Presidential aide Sudi Silalahi.
Beliau tidak biasa mentargetkan sekian bulan. Kalau bisa secepatnya, bisa seminggu, bisa 3 hari. Jadi hal-hal ini beliau membuat yang tercepat, kemungkinan yang tercepat. Jadi kalau bisa lebih cepat, kenapa mesti harus tunggu 2 bulan, 3 bulan?
But with suspicion levelled directly at an institution as powerful as the National Intelligence Agency, fact-finding team member Usman Hamid was pessimistic.
Di tingkat pejabat tinggi, di tingkat Polri, saya kira upaya untuk mengungkap kasus ini kan pasti banyak mendapatkan perlawanan, pasti mendapatkan hambatan-hambatan yang ditujukan untuk menutup kasus ini. Gitu. Dan kami meyakini bahwa Polri pun misalnya anggota-anggotanya pun ditekan atau ada ketekanan.
Hamid says that solving the case will be a test of the President's own authority.
If the President have real authority, semua institusi di bawah, semua pejabat tinggi di bawahnya itu harus fully cooperate untuk mendorong kasus ini.
Nothing that's happened so far gives much hope of that. But the President may be waiting to see what the court decides.
Polikarpus Budihari Prianto.
The Garuda pilot and secret agent Polikarpus Budihari Prianto faced trial for the first time last week. There was disappointment when no mention was made in court of his link to the National Intelligence Agency. But activists are determined to expose the people behind Polikarpus. Retired General Hendro Priyono was the National Intelligence Agency chief at the time of Munir's death. Many Indonesians now believe that he ordered the assassination.
Nah, itu kan yang harus didalami oleh polisi. Ya di situ bisa ditarik garis. Kalau kita mau langsung ngomong ini loh sebetulnya kan kita tidak bisa seperti itu. Tapi sebetulnya kita bisa tahu motif-motif yang disebutkan oleh TPF sih kemarin ada banyak motif-motif. Siapa sih sebetulnya yang bermain di sana? Motif-motif politik. Motif dibalik kematian Munir itu sendiri. Motifnya jelas. Dan itu mengarah ke satu orang sebetulnya.
Although there's no proof that Hendro Priyono had anything to do with Munir's murder, it's a very popular theory here. The fact-finding team, or TPF, had identified him as a key figure in its investigations. It repeatedly summoned him for questioning, but he never showed up. Instead, 2 days before handing its report to the President, Hendro Priyono launched a public relations counterstrike.
Ya gini, kalau kepolisian panggil saya, hari ini dipanggil, hari ini saya datang. Polisi panggil, karena sebagai warga negara, saudara-saudara kalau dipanggil polisi harus datang. Tapi kalau dipanggil politik, panggil kekuasaan, orang pegang kuasa untuk panggil, tunggu dulu. Saudara punya hak apa panggil? Dan juga kekuasaan yang diberikan kepada TPF bukan kekuasaan memanggil-manggil. Ya, apalagi?
At the very least, the former head of the National Intelligence Agency could surely help the TPF with its inquiry.
Kenapa tidak hadir saja lah? Kalau tidak ada yang bersalah, kenapa bikin masalah-masalah?
Tidak tanya saya dulu, saya kan punya jadwal sebagai rakyat. Saya harus kasih makan cucu saya harus pergi ke tempat yang bencana alam, kegiatan sosial. Semua kan saya ada jadwal. Mentang-mentang saya sudah pensiun dan rakyat dikira saya nggak ada kerjaan. Kan kita ada pekerjaan.
Sependapat dengan TPF bahwa adalah konspirasi belakangnya kematian Munir?
Oh, tidak. Saya tidak tahu. Saya tidak mengusut sampai situ. Yang penting,
tapi dari
dia harusnya tanya sama saya. Sekarang datang sini, boleh tanya. Dan ada 24 hours. Dan 24 hours my house and my office open for TPF or anybody else.
The former head of intelligence clearly doesn't think it ironic that he is clueless about a major case that occurred under his watch.
Tapi sebagai kepala BIN waktu itu, Bapak tidak tahu siapa membunuh Munir?
Tidak tahu.
Kepala BIN sangat pintar kan? Banyak informasi.
Tidak tahu saya.
Tapi sebagai pimpinan BIN,
kalau tahu saya pasti lapor polisi. Masa ada orang bunuh orang?
Itu kelemahan badan intelijen negara kalau orang pimpinannya nggak tahu pembunuh, Pak.
Itu Anda mesti belajar intelijen Indonesia. Kalau saya diculik, saya diinterogasi pada saat saya berada di luar negeri. Saya bisa bongkar semua intelijen Indonesia dari A sampai Z. Itu tidak boleh. Karena itu saya tidak boleh tahu terlalu banyak. Bukan cuma saya, semua orang-orang intel. Yang dia tahu hanyalah yang dia kerjakan saja. Tanggung jawab dia saja.
Hendro Priyono says that when he first heard about Munir's death, he assumed it was from natural causes.
Biasa, meninggal biasa.
Ya, orang meninggal kan biasa tuh. Banyak orang meninggal, saya juga bakal meninggal sebentar lagi. Ya, jadi tapi yang luar biasa
bukan karena perutnya ini penuh arsen kan?
Itu sebabnya. Makanya belajar bahasa Indonesianya yang lengkap dong kan kita tadi ngomong. Dari tadi kita kan udah ngomong bahwa ini memang yang dimaksud biasa itu karena kita kan belum tahu waktu itu ini pembunuhan. Setelah kita tahu ini kita sinyalir pembunuhan, ya investigate dong, begitu ya.
And as far as Hendro Priyono is concerned, that was the end of that. After the screening in South Sulawesi, Suciwati says the president will need prodding if he is to take on the powerful men who may be behind her husband's murder.
Saya minta bersama-sama selalu mempertanyakan kepada presiden, melakukan sesuatu, menanyakan terus-menerus lah tentang kasus ini. Saya yakin presiden juga akan risih kalau tiap kali kita diberikan pertanyaan itu melulu. Dan
Suciwati believes a proper police investigation could reveal an incredible motive behind her husband's death, one that should make the president sit up and take notice. The theory goes like this. Munir was killed just 2 weeks before the presidential election as part of a plot to influence the result. Munir's death was initially blamed on the military, a logical assumption when you consider his anti-military views. That assumption could have been disastrous for the leading presidential candidate, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, a former general. At the time, Hendro Priyono was President Megawati Sukarnoputri's election campaign manager, and he was promoting her as the anti-military candidate.
Di situ ada pilpres, pilihan presiden. Di situ ada dua kandidat, satunya dari sipil, satunya dari militer. Nah, Munir dikenal sangat kritis terhadap militer. Bisa jadi di situ persaingan politik di situ tuh jadi kotor, kemudian Munir dijadikan tumbal di sana agar kemudian memenangkan salah satu kandidat, mungkin bisa jadi itu.
Yang anti militer.
Yang anti militer. Nah, bisa jadi itu. Saya sendiri tidak bisa mengatakan itu sebuah fakta ya, karena itu harus dibuktikan. Jadi itu yang harus kita, mungkin itu tugas polisi sebetulnya, mendalami hal-hal itu ke sana. Siapa terlibat di sana?
Suciwati ends her trip to South Sulawesi with a visit to a local radio station. She feels she has to take whatever opportunity arises to publicize the campaign and push for justice, no matter what the risk.
Ini tanda bahaya bagi kita, tapi kita tidak boleh mundur, tapi kita tidak boleh takut karena teror ini. Ini kan teror, tapi kita harus melawannya. Jadi kita ke depan kalau perlu, ya kita harus terus-menerus melakukan kampanye ini, bahwasanya ini yang terakhir dan usut terus kasus Munir.